All right, YouTube, so I think that the GH5 is going to be the best beginner, intermediate, and possibly even pro camera moving into 2022. Let me explain. So I know that the GH5 is about 5 years old at this point, but back in 2017, this camera was way ahead of its time. It had specs that no other camera even came close to having. And obviously we are still talking about it to this day, and we are still using it to this day. And so that is one of the reasons why I think it is a very viable option moving into 2022 if you are in the market for a good budget camera. With that being said, I know there are better cameras on the market, but if you are a beginner or an intermediate and you're just looking for a camera to get started and you want to invest in other gear to take you even farther, I think this is a very quality and capable camera, and you can adapt almost any lens system to it. So say you want to go with Sony later on down the line, well, you can buy the best Sony glass out there and use it on this so that when you go get your FX6 or a Sony a7S III, you can use that great glass on that camera. Now, I want to talk about 5 specific pros that I noticed while using this camera that have helped me in every single shoot, starting with the first pro, and that is dual SD card slots. Now, this is not a common feature on cameras in this price range or even a step up. And I don't understand why, because this can save you a lot of hassle and heartache. If you're out shooting a wedding, let's say, you have one chance to capture all of this day, and you want to make sure that you're backed up. With the GH5, you're able to record to 2 SD cards, so that way if one of them fails, you do have a backup. The second thing is 5-axis IBIS, and I know that every reviewer of this camera talks about it, but really it is crazy. I'm gonna put some tests that I've done with just walking shots with the GH5 and my rig, and you'll see that it is pretty stable. And when you throw some warp stabilizer on there, it really does bring it to a whole nother level. Truthfully, I think it's a lot easier to handhold the GH5 than it is to throw it on a gimbal, and you get great smooth cinematic results. Number 3 is 4K 60, and I've done my research. There are no cameras in the $1,500 price point, except the Fuji X-T3 and X-T4, that shoot 4K 60, okay? The EOS R shoots 4K 30. It does not shoot 4K 60. The R5 is $2,500. The Sony a7R IV, also around $2,500. The Sony a7 III does not shoot 4K 60. And it's crazy to me that this is not a thing yet, that 4K 60 hasn't taken off the way that it has. I mean, this came out in 2017 and it has 4K 60, yet the same price range now doesn't have it. It just blows my mind that really this is not a common feature unless you want to spend about $1,000 more. To me, 4K 60 should be like a thing in all cameras that are like higher end cameras. And you know, it is 2020, it is gonna be 2022. Where's the 4K 60? So that's my little mini rant. But the fact that it does have 4K 60 and the fact that it was 4K 60 in 2017 just blows my mind. Number 4 is the color science of the GH5. This is crazy. I'm gonna throw some clips over right now that I've color graded, but you can see the color science is beautiful. The colors are vibrant, the colors really pop, and it just makes your films look so much prettier. And you can, you know, obviously pop them out a little bit more in your color grade. I mean, almost right out of the bat, even in natural profile, the colors just pop. And that's one of my favorite things about the GH5 is just this pop of color. Number 5 is the customizability of this camera. Now, the GH5 has 5 function buttons and 3 C profiles. You can set those profiles to settings that you use often, or with these function buttons, you can set them to different settings. So let's say you go from outside shooting the bride and groom outside and you need to go into the inside for the reception and you want to just be able to quickly change, you just press a button, you can customize it and then just press the button and it'll change it for you. So this camera has a lot of customizable features, and that's the 5th reason that I love this camera. It just makes things so quick, so easy, just to know that, I know what all of these are and I can access some of the features that I use a ton just with the click of a button. Now, a quick bonus is the Metabones or Viltrox Speed Booster. Nobody puts enough emphasis on these awesome things because Micro Four Thirds is generally around a 2x crop. But when you put a speed booster on it, you're able to use Canon, Sony, Nikon glass, and what actually is the cool part is it drops it down a full stop. So with an f4 lens, it drops it down to a 2.8. That to me is so useful, especially if you shoot weddings, going indoors. It can save you from having to go to like 6400 ISO. It can keep you at 3200 ISO because you can drop the f-stop even more. So that to me is a huge selling point. Now there are a few cons with the GH5, and the most notable one is the terrible autofocus. I don't use autofocus. I usually have it on a rig. So, it's not a huge deal to me. Or when you throw it on the RS2, there's a USB-C cable that you can plug into the GH5 that you can focus with the front wheel. So again, it's not a huge deal, but if you do need autofocus, I would probably stay away from it. The second con is that 4K 60 isn't actually 10-bit, it is 8-bit. Now, throughout this whole video, you will have seen 8 and 10-bit footage from either the Atomos Ninja V or the internal, and really, it doesn't make a huge difference. It can make it harder to grade, but I haven't found that I haven't been able to push it too far. So for what I do, it's perfect. I don't find the 10-bit or the 8-bit like a bad thing, but I know that it is definitely not as nice as, say, the Pocket, where you can get 60 frames per second in 12-bit RAW. So it is a downside, but to me, it's not a huge deal or a big deal breaker. I'm able to work with it. The third major con is the low light performance. It really is awful. If you're using DaVinci Resolve, the noise reduction feature is great. So I would actually think that you could be able to use it. However, if you are using Premiere, I might stay away from this if you're gonna need a lot of low light stuff. The Pocket is a great alternative because it has dual native ISO, so you can be at 3200 ISO or 400 ISO, and the 3200 ISO looks beautiful. In conclusion, I know that I brought some good pros and some good cons to the table. This is still a very capable camera going into 2022. It's going to be my main camera over the Pocket given the IBIS, and when you pair it with the Atomos Ninja V, the quality just goes up even farther. Again, I've almost ditched my Pocket 4K for this and the Atomos because of the IBIS. You've seen the footage going over the top of this video. You can see that the quality is there. I know there are better cameras out there, but this is a really great way to get started in videography and be able to invest in other gear. I've been able to invest in a lot of other gear because of the 2 lower priced cameras that I've bought, but as you can see, they're still great quality cameras and they are very reliable. I have had no problems with the GH5. I bought this thing used and it's served me well. So I hope that I helped you kind of figure out whether the GH5 is the right camera for you. I think it's fantastic, and I think that this camera is gonna continue being one of the best cameras for anybody getting started or anybody looking to get even better in their videography for many years, honestly, until camera manufacturers start putting a lot more attention into this price range, because that's where a lot of us are. Until they start putting more into this price range, this is gonna be king. With that, if you have any questions about the GH5, please put them in the comments below. If you have any questions on filmmaking, photography, post-production, please feel free to comment them below. I would love to make more videos on questions that you guys have. as I'm starting my channel. And if you like this video, please hit that like button. If you want to subscribe to see more, please hit that subscribe button and that notification bell so that you can know right when I post. With that, I hope you guys have a great day, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.